What is going on, horror fans, horror fanatics? Zomboy here, and you're watching another episode of Twisted Terrors. On this one, we're going to be talking about... Oh, sorry. Hello? We're going to be talking about the Babadook. So Babadook came out in 2014. It is an hour and 34 minutes long, and it was directed by Jennifer Kent. This movie, IMDb has this one rated as a 6.8 out of 10, and Letterboxd has this one as a 3.3 out of 5. So this movie starts off with a woman. She's having a nightmare about a car crash. She's woken up by her son, who's having a bad dream about a monster in his room. She goes in and checks everything, doesn't find a monster, ends up wanting to read a book. So they're reading the Three Little Pigs, and the son tells the mom, it's okay, I'm gonna kill the monster when it comes. I'm gonna smash its head in. She wakes up in the morning, the kid's in the basement, he's making weapons. He has designed a backpack catapult that shoots a ball. She warns him to not shoot it in the house, and of course he does it anyways, which breaks the window in the living room. You can tell right away that this relationship between Sam, the son, and Amelia, the mom, is very strained. And the kid knows how to push the mom's buttons. The mom's a nurse. She drops Sam off at school, and she gets a call immediately after getting to work that she needs to come. She gets a call right away that she needs to go to Sam's school. When she goes, he had made a dart gun and brought it to school, and so the principal of the school is very upset. Mom's trying to apologize, but he's saying basically Sam has just been nothing but issues. There's just been nothing but conversation, and nothing's happened, so that they're going to have to pull him out, and he's going to have to basically do schooling alone. Mom thinks that's unacceptable and ends up pulling him out of the school. You know, he makes this dart gun, and she pulls him out of school, and his reward is she takes him to the park. And mom's talking to another lady as Sam's trying to play on the toys and being super annoying. Mom, look at this, Mom.
Mom! I'm gonna smash its head! Be careful. Mom, I'm gonna smash it! Mom! Mom! Look at me!
Ends up climbing all the way to the top of the swing and getting in trouble, and then the whole ride home he's screaming at the top of his lungs. And this kid does a good job, because in this movie you dislike this kid because he is super annoying. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. He's obnoxious. It's like he's got ADD times 100. He does a really good job conveying that right away in this movie, but it just kind of gets worse and worse. Get home to the park, they're getting ready for bed. You know, mom's got to do her monster check, checks under the bed, checking in the cabinets. So this kid has a big fear of monsters, and you can tell that right away with this basically daily obsession with having to check everything. They read a book every night. She tells Sam that he can pick the book tonight, and he brings over a book called Mr. Babadook. She asked him where she got it, and neither one of them know where it came from, and she starts reading it, and it's a pop-up book, and it's terrifying. You can tell it's hand-drawn, it's a pop-up book, but it's very disturbing. And as she reads, she finally quits reading it because the kid's already got issues with sleeping. She doesn't feel like she needs to exacerbate things any worse by reading this book. Of course, he starts screaming because he wants to read the Babadook, and she does not. So he has another fit. She ends up taking the book out of his room, and then when she goes to her room, she starts looking at it, and it's unfinished. she's going through all the pages, and it's really bizarre. It's all about this creature that lives in your room in the dark, and how it's going to start showing its presence slowly and eventually making more of a presence, and then the book just ends. It's blank pages. Mom finally, she puts the book down and she starts she crawls into bed for a little self-love, if you know what I mean, until Sam comes bursting through the door, jumping on her, saying that there's monsters in his room again. Next day they get up. She's got to go to work. He's pulled out of school now, so she ends up taking him to Aunt Claire's house, her sister, and goes to work, where everyone can tell she looks really tired, and one of the guys offers to take the rest of her shift so she can take the rest of the day off, which she does. And she ends up having like the first free day she's had in a long time. She ends up going to what looks like the mall, getting some ice cream, and just kind of doing something for herself for once. Being a single mom, you find out in this movie the dad died driving to the hospital when Sam was born. And so she's a single mom, and when she gets in her car to leave, she realizes on her cell phone she missed 10 calls from Aunt Claire. And when she gets there, Aunt Claire's not happy, because not only is Sam being really mean and rude and scaring her daughter, she called her work to get a hold of her and found out she wasn't there. So she was pretty upset about that. Aunt Claire told Mom he's been talking about the Babadook all day long, which was the one rule Mom gave Sam, was not to talk about the Babadook to anybody. And so on the way home, she's kind of disciplining him in the car, and Sam tells Mom that the Babadook is going to sneak into her room and eat her insides. This kid's very creative. At dinner, they're eating porridge, and Mom finds a bunch of broken glass in her porridge, and Sam says the Babadook did it. So this is a very strained relationship, and right away, you're made to just dislike this kid, I think, because it's how the mom feels. The mom is exhausted. She doesn't sleep. He wakes her up every single night. She does go to sleep. She wakes up and she's just got to do it all over again. And so you can tell this is very straining on her. She does a great job conveying that. I mean, she just looks exhausted in these movies. Sam's waiting for the Babadook. At one point, he's just sitting on his floor with his little backpack catapult on, waiting. The next day, they end up going to Ruby's birthday party, where Sam ends up, he doesn't get along with any of the kids there, and Ruby's telling him, they're up in a tree house, that he doesn't have a dad and everyone else does, and no one loves him, and he ends up pushing Ruby out of the tree house, and she falls to the ground.
You're not even good enough to have a dad. Everyone else has one, you don't. I do have a dad. Dad died so he didn't have to be with you. That's not true. And your mum doesn't want you. No one wants you.
What did you do?
She said I didn't have a dad. She kept saying it.
And this is right in front of the parents. So they're all upset. And of course, Sam's mom's super upset again. You know, in this scene, the women at this party are asking her if she's still writing. You find out she used to be a writer, and she says that she doesn't write too much anymore, and she goes into how she used to write children's books. Girl ended up having to go to the hospital. On the way home, Sam has like a panic attack and starts saying he sees the Babadook, and the Babadook's in the car, and starts convulsing, and she takes him to the hospital.
Mommy! She wouldn't believe me! Mommy!
Just be normal. There is no Babadook.
Get out! Get out!
Samuel,
Mommy!
stop this now.
Get out! Get out! Get out!
And they end up just prescribing him some sedatives so he can get some sleep. which probably not the best idea in the world, but you know, what are you gonna do? Mom gives Sam some of the sedatives. She wakes up the next day at 11:30 in the morning. They both just slept in, which they never get to do. Someone knocks on the door. The Babadook book, which she had thrown in the garbage, is back on the door, and she had torn the pages and they were all put back. She's freaking out about that. She ends up taking it in the backyard and burning it. But before she burned it, she was looking inside and more pages had been done. And there were some pages that basically showed the mom getting possessed, the mom killing the dog, the mom killing the child, and then the mom killing herself. So yeah, she ends up burning the book after that, takes it in the backyard. That's the end of the book. She ends up going to the police, which they don't believe her. They want to see the book. And he's explaining to them that she burned it. And then she notices on the back of the police wall, there's the clothes of the Babadook, including the fingers of the Babadook, hanging on the wall with his hat, his top hat. She ends up leaving. I'm not sure what the point of the clothes were, but she ends up leaving because no one believes her. She gets home. She finds roaches coming out of underneath the fridge. So she moves the fridge and there's like a tear in the wallpaper. So when she tears the wallpaper, there's a big hole in the wall and there's all these roaches coming out. So she starts cleaning the whole kitchen and there's a knock on the door and it ends up there's some Child Protective Services is there and they want to come in and talk to Sam, who's sleeping on the couch. And when they wake him up, he's telling the worker that he's just so tired because of all the drugs Mom is giving him.
Hello, Samuel. I'm Prue. And this is Warren. How are you?
I'm a bit tired from the drugs Mum gave me.
Not drugs, tranquilizers. From the doctor. I mean, he had a fit yesterday.
I'm really tired, actually.
That's no good.
So they're both looking at Mom, and Mom's like, well, no, it's the medication that the doctor prescribed to him to get some sleep. And she apologized for the mess. They asked for some water, and she goes in and says that she's sorry. She just found a roach infestation in the hole in the wall behind the fridge. And when they walk in, there's no hole in the wall. There's no roaches. There's no hole. She told them, I didn't mean a hole in the wall. I meant a hole in the wallpaper. So the hole is gone. After they end up leaving, she's doing dishes and she's looking into her neighbor's house across the way, and you get your first glimpse of the Babadook. It's a man standing in the background in the neighbor's house, which is just a quick glimpse. That night after they go to bed, the Babadook comes to her room and she hears the door open and she sees a person slide in and the door shuts. And then the Babadook ends up crawling up on the ceiling, and there's these really cool effects, and you can see these long fingers. And then what looks like him, he enters her mouth, which is a cool scene. She ends up staying up all night long. She doesn't sleep. She's sitting there all the way till the sun comes up. She finally gets so tired, she crawls into bed, and I mean, it's daylight out. She crawls in. As soon as she shuts her eyes, Sam walks in.
Don't you ever stop. I need to sleep.
I'm sorry, Mummy. I was just really hungry.
If you're that hungry, why don't you go and eat shit?
She says that to her kid. And so he walks to his room. She ends up going and apologizes and say she hasn't slept in a long time and she's just not herself. So they're just going to go get some ice cream. So they get in the car. They go to an ice cream place. They're eating ice cream. On the way home, she sees the Babadook crawling on the outside of the car, and there's roaches all over inside the car, and she smashes it into an oncoming car, which the guy gets out to confront her, and she speeds off and leaves the scene of an accident after hitting this guy. That night, Mom's acting really weird, so Sam asks her if he can call the neighbor, and maybe they can spend the night over there, and she refuses. And that night, she hears something, and she wakes up, and she goes downstairs. She finds Sam on the phone in the middle of the night with the neighbor, saying that he wants to come spend the night, and she takes the phone and apologizes, and then freaks out on Sam and ends up cutting the phone cord with a knife, so that way he can't call anybody. That'll show you. And then he's on the couch sleeping, and she's in a chair, and then she wakes up to Sam crying out his name, and when she opens her eyes, he's standing over the top of her with a giant kitchen knife. So that obviously freaks her out. Maybe not as much as him. He was not looking super stoked about that one. And then Mom starts seeing the Babadook everywhere. I mean, it's all over the house. She starts seeing it all the time. The dog's always barking at her, and she ends up breaking the dog's neck. She tears one of her teeth out with her hand, and then Mom starts going after Sam. And Sam's freaking out, goes in his room and locks the door. She ends up kicking the door down.
Let me in! Let me in! Let me in!
And there's a really cool scene where he's backing away from her, and she slides across the floor. Her feet aren't even touching the floor, and she just glides across, which is a really cool visual.
You little pig.
He ends up peeing his pants at that, which probably I would too. And she tells him that sometimes she just wants to bash his head against a brick wall till his brains come out. It's a good thing to tell your kid. And that she wished it was him that died in the car wreck and not Dad. Ends up chasing him. He gets out. He grabs his dart gun, shoots Mom in the arm with a dart. And then he's got his backpack on and launches a ball, which hits Mom in the head. So we got some Home Alone stuff going on here. He runs down, and she's chasing after him, and someone knocks on the door. It's the elderly neighbor lady, worried about them because she's a sweetheart. You assume something happens there, but you really don't know. Mom ends up walking up to Sam in the kitchen and apologizing, and says she hasn't been herself lately, and she just wants to make it up to Sam, and kneels down to give him a hug. And then when they embrace, she tells Sam, "You're going to meet your dad, and it's a beautiful place." And Sam realizes what that means, so Sam stabs Mom with a big kitchen knife and runs into the basement. Mom goes chasing after him after removing the knife, trips down the stairs on a rope he had, and ends up hitting the ground, blacking out, and wakes up. She's tied up. She's yelling at Sam, and Sam's basically just saying how much he loves his mom and all this stuff. And then she gets a hold of him and starts strangling him, and he starts just petting her face, and that beats the Babadook. I think the Babadook feeds off of fear, and so the son is just showing love, which she ends up getting out of the ropes, and then she pukes all this black sludge all over the floor, which is a sign that she's not possessed by the Babadook anymore. They're walking up out of the basement, and all of a sudden Sam goes flying up the stairs by an unknown force, goes into one of the bedrooms and starts just getting slammed against all the walls. And then she ends up facing the Babadook, which takes the form of her deceased husband, and the husband's saying that he wants the son and that she can do it. That doesn't work, and so the Babadook takes its form, and she ends up standing up to the Babadook and tells the Babadook, "This is my house. You're trespassing, you will not touch my son." And she shows zero fear, and this takes all the power away from the Babadook. So now the Babadook has no power, and he ends up flying down into the basement where she locks the door. And fast forward to could be the next day, and the elderly neighbor is out there with her. So you realize she didn't die. They're collecting worms, and she ends up taking a bowl of worms down to the basement, and she's feeding the Babadook. The Babadook eats worms. And the son's asking how it was today, and it was good. It was a good day. So at the end of this, they're keeping the Babadook in the basement and feeding it worms. And that's the end of the movie. This is a good movie. You know, it's a slow burn. The kid is atrocious. I have a really hard time watching that kid. Great actor. I mean, you are supposed to think this kid's annoying, and he does a great job at conveying that. This movie's weird. So my question, and this is just how I feel, is the Babadook even there? I don't think so. So you find out that the mom used to do kids' books, so I think she made the Babadook. Looks homemade, looks like it's penned in. I think she made the book. I don't think she ever saw it. I think it was a manifestation of her missing her husband, disliking her own kid, she basically hates her life. And so I think she used the Babadook like a manifest her pain. And I don't think it was ever there. I mean, that's just how I feel about it, because you really don't get confirmation that any two people can see the Babadook. You know, the kid kept on saying that he said would see the Babadook, but the mom wouldn't. The kid never reacts to the Babadook when mom sees it. You know, there's some visuals there, but I feel like the Babadook wasn't actually there, that it was just mom's psychological trauma that she was going through in life, and that's how it manifested. You know, she thought there was an entity making her feel that way, when really she was just trying to fix her life. You know, whether that's killing the dog, killing the kid, and then killing herself, if that was her way to deal with it, you know. And by the end, she changed her mind and realized that she can move on in life, missing her husband and still loving him, and kind of loving her son the way he is, because he is a really odd child. No one wants to be around her. You know, she has no friends. She had like 2 people that she confided in this movie, and they both hated her kid to the point where they didn't even want to be around her because her son was so weird. And everyone was like that. You know, the school pushed them away. Her friends pushed them away. Their family pushed them away. You know, she was kind of groomed to sit at home and stew on all of her problems. So that's just how I feel. Maybe there was an entity in this house brought by this book, but I think she put the book back together and doesn't remember. I think she made the book and doesn't remember. I think she added to the book and doesn't remember. You know, I think all that was mom. But like I said, it's a very controversial ending. You could come up with your own conclusion on this one, but it was just details in the movie that made me feel like it was just her pain and suffering and things like that were causing the Babadook to make her do things. You know, but it seems like at the end, she's happy, the son's happy, they obviously moved on. You know, is she really keeping something in the basement? Who knows? Maybe that's just her way of taking all of her problems and putting them in the basement, which is kind of what she was doing before anyways, because she had nothing of the dad's in the house. She'd moved everything to the basement and left it there. So that's kind of where her issues get stuffed anyways, is in the basement. So, you know, in a way, it's the same thing. So tell me what you think. Like I said, there's probably a million different ways you can see this movie, and I don't think any of them are right or wrong. I think it's just kind of the way you see different things, and I don't know. That's just how I feel. So tell me what you think. I appreciate watching this video. I did like this movie. I did watch it again for this video, and it is a good movie, which a lot of people say it's like a cult classic instantly. You know, this one was shot in Australia, and when it first got released over there, they didn't like it. It came over to the US, and I think they put it in the Sundance Festival, which actually it did really well in the Sundance Festival, and then it did really well in London. And then when that happened, in Australia, it kind of blew up as well. So, you know, this movie's just kind of a behavioral nightmare is what I call it. The way the mom was behaving, the way the son was behaving, it was all just an absolute nightmare. So tell me what you think. Did you like this movie? What did you think the ending meant? And, you know, put it in the comments or send me a message. But I appreciate watching this video. I will see you on the next one. And I wish I would have known earlier, but that pop-up book, they made 2,000 of those pop-up books and you could buy them. And unfortunately, by the time I found out, they're only on eBay and they're going for like $1,500 for the pop-up book, which would be a really cool thing to own. But I missed out on that, and I'm not paying $1,500 for it. So I will see you on the next Twisted Terrors video. If you have any ideas of something you'd like to see, throw it in the comments. Otherwise, Zomboy signing out, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.